So hello everyone, this is a channel about engines. In this video we'll begin assembling a 423 engine, a naturally aspirated V10 with 5 inches pistons. This is our second episode about this engine. The disassembly, inspection and removal process is already on my channel. Check the link in the description if you're interested and haven't seen it yet. Alright, so let's start the assembly. The engine is already in this condition. I've washed it, cleaned it and rethreaded here. I have some footage of that. I'll show it now. I washed it, cleaned it, brushed and rethreaded everywhere, blew it out. In general, I got it ready. The engine is already ready. The only thing I still need to do now is open up the oil channels, remove the injectors, blow them out, clean them, and so on. So I already have some parts. We're still waiting for some other parts as well, and here are a couple of shots. So the engine parts have arrived. This isn't all of them yet, it's not complete yet. Here we have all sorts of gaskets, rubber seals, bearings, a filter, we have a clutch disc, and these are probably engine mounts, both front and rear. Here we have camshaft bushings, an oil pump, and I also forgot the breather. This is the power steering pump, and here we have a new piston assembly. Most of the parts are already here. We're still waiting for a few things. Well, that means some parts have already been sent out to third-party organizations. Examples include cylinder heads, connecting rods for bushing replacement, and fuel equipment such as pumps and injectors. Also filmed a little, which I'll show now. The heads, I removed the valves, disassembled them, cleaned them, washed them. So, the heads. It was clear that they had been on a surface grinding machine not so long ago, but the sleeves were installed incorrectly. The sleeves were sticking out a lot, and in this place there's already a kind of ridge that is an imprint from the sleeve. The head was hanging with all the pressure on one spot, while the rest was suspended in the air. I took the items to the surface grinding machine. After washing and cleaning them, I got them ready. Basically, the money isn't much, relatively speaking, but at least there will be a guarantee that the head surface will be in perfect condition. To show the gearbox that was installed on the car. I've already disassembled it too, inspected it, everything has already been washed completely, everything is cleaned, all the old gaskets have been removed, everything has been cleaned with a brush, all the gears have been degreased. In general, everything is completely done, all the internals. So can it already be assembled? We still don't have the parts, and the parts haven't even been ordered yet. All the components we have are being repaired by third-party organizations. Here they are, all prepared, cleaned and washed on the table. So, we have cylinder heads being sent to the surface grinding machine. This is our fuel equipment, pump, injectors. Well, the injectors are being checked. It seems like the nozzles have been replaced, but in general, we won't guess. Once they're checked, then we'll know for sure. We are sending the connecting rods for replacement of the piston pin bushings, and for machining. Everything is prepared like this. We load it into the vehicle and send it off. As mentioned earlier, we'll begin by cleaning the oil channels and inspecting the oil nozzles. I'll start with the oil channels and then likely move on to the crankshaft. We also need to prepare the crankshaft by removing the counterweights, clamping it in the machine and polishing it. I'll demonstrate and explain each step as we proceed. So, what else do I want to say? I want to express my immense gratitude to those people who support the channel financially, that is, to those who make donations. It really motivates me, and it's very important. Donations are voluntary. People might not donate for various reasons, such as believing it's unnecessary, lacking opportunity, or simply being too lazy. It's clear that donations are a voluntary thing. To our supporters, a huge thank you. And to those who watch with interest but don't donate, well, let's just say you're not grateful enough. If you enjoy the content, please hit the like button and comment. It's very important. My recent videos have been getting very few views for a single reason. Not so long ago, I held a giveaway, and there I had a lot of comments, a lot of likes, and also subscribers. People subscribed specifically because of the giveaway. Now let's say I've just uploaded and added a new video, and during the first day you could say, I see a drop in subscribers. Did I end up doing myself a disservice? I held a contest and observed high engagement on the channel, including numerous comments, likes and subscriptions. After the contest, comments, likes and subscribers dropped sharply, with some subscribers even leaving. At first it seemed like the channel was growing, but after the contest ended, now there's a reverse effect. In general, there are few videos, but they recommend the videos. I want to ask those people who watch, who seem to like it but maybe can't donate, but still you can show your appreciation in some way. I want to ask you, please leave a like. It shouldn't be hard for you at all, just press the button. For me, it's filming and editing. I have to shoot everything, then edit it all. Editing takes me about 57 minutes of footage and 4 evenings of work, roughly 6 hours each evening. In total, editing takes around 25-30 hours. Imagine a regular work week for people is 40 hours, but for me, editing just one episode takes 30 hours in that same week. It's not as easy as it seems from the outside. It requires a lot of hard work. When there's no feedback, no support, even just in the form of likes and so on, then sometimes you just lose the motivation to keep going and feel like giving up. I know no one is obligated to me, and I'm not obligated to anyone either, but I'll still ask, who will listen to me? Thank you all. That's how it is in short. Now let's get to work. So I unscrewed all the oil injectors, unscrewed all the plugs from the oil channels, washed them in solvent, then in the washer, then continued. So we see that the bolt just has a through hole. Here is the drilling, and on the sides there is drilling in 4 places. What is a nozzle? It's a hollow, thick-walled tube with a calibrated hole at the end without any additional components like balls. Well, there are nozzles with balls and with little valves depending on the year of manufacture, but specifically here these are the ones installed. And we can also see that there are these 2 holes in this place. If we have a nozzle installed like this, oil is supplied through the tube to the piston for lubrication and to cool the bottom of the piston. And also, as we can see, through these holes they are facing the opposite side, that is towards the camshaft. That is, through these holes oil is supplied to the cams, to the tappets in general. It lubricates them additionally. Camshaft plugs. I also washed everything, prepared it. Now I need to wash and clean the channels, everything, and put everything back together. So, well, in a few words, I want to talk about the lubrication system. So, here we have an oil pump, and here we have the 43rd with the marking 43. That's the height of the gear, well, the height or the width. So, from the pump, the oil goes here. Here we have a heat exchanger. First it gets cooled, then from the heat exchanger, after cooling it goes to the filter and gets filtered. After the filter, the oil comes out into this channel and through this drilling goes into the main channel. We have 2 channels, one leading into the other, forming a triangle. The oil flows from the first channel into the second. Well, it also goes straight to lubricate the main bearings, to lubricate the camshaft support bearings, and it also goes through these angle drillings to lubricate, basically to supply oil to the cylinder head. There, on the rocker arm shaft, on the push rod and so on. So here we have one channel, the second channel on these channels. Drilling for the oil spray nozzles provides lubrication to cool the piston crown, piston, cylinder, and lubricate the tappets, cam lobes, camshaft, and other components. So basically we have 3 channels here in total. 1, 2, 3, well, those are the main ones. Well, and from them the drillings go to each cylinder, to each main bearing, to each camshaft support bearing. And also, through this channel, oil is supplied to the high-pressure fuel pump. Also, where we have the turbine, through this channel, here we can see there's a plug. Where the turbine is installed, from this channel, oil is supplied to the turbine. So, from this channel, we can see here that another drilling goes off to the side, and in this place, it is closed off with a ball. This is a technological hole, and this is already going for us. Oil supplied to the compressor. Here it then passes through the casing and supplies lubrication to the compressor. I also forgot to mention that for the 43rd pump, the tooth height is important. At 600 revolutions per minute, it pumps 9.77 gallons. We have less than 7.9 gallons in the oil pan. So at idle speed per minute, it completely circulates all the oil we have in the oil pan through the system. So at maximum revolutions in the table, we have 2,400. This pump pumps 175 liters per minute. So it turns out that 6 times per minute, it circulates the contents of the oil pan. But not all of this oil goes through the system. That is, some of the oil is discharged immediately by the relief valve, meaning it only passes through the pump. Excess pressure builds up, let's say, and the relief valve opens, so the oil is discharged directly into the sump. Still, this is intriguing. At max revolutions per minute, the pump can empty the sump in just 10 seconds. So that's how I briefly explained the lubrication system of this engine. So now I'm cleaning the oil channels and installing the nozzles and plugs back in place. Okay, so as we can see, all the channels have already been cleaned as much as I could. I won't claim to have cleaned them perfectly, but I removed the biggest oil deposits. And also what I basically had to do was make sure that the channels are passable, that there are no blockages anywhere, nothing is stuck anywhere, and so on. So I checked all of that, I made sure of everything. I checked that air is flowing everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I checked every opening, every channel. I made sure that my oil line is completely clear. So now I'm assembling the injectors, installing the injectors in place, installing the plugs in place. The injector, I'll show again, it just fits in along the guide. So, well, that's it. I've installed and tightened all the plugs. Here, instead of a plug, we have an oil sensor installed. There's a fitting like this here. That's all. So, with the oil channels, we're done. We've checked everything, cleaned everything. So, this type of work is invisible. After 2 hours, there's no visible change, whether you did the work or not. So, what's next? What should I do? Now, I'm going to take out the bushings. I'll knock out the plug and replace the bushings. I'll knock out the old bushings and install the new ones. Camshaft bushings replaced, now checking oil channels. We can see the oil channels and my camshaft bushings lined up correctly. Now I'll install the plug and put on the heat exchanger right away. So, before installing the heat exchanger, I first washed it completely, then removed the radiator, washed the radiator separately, the oil radiator, I cleaned everything inside with solvent, then in the wash I blew it out with compressed air and also removed it from the heat exchanger. This is the pressure relief valve, or rather the bypass valve. Since we saw scratches on the bearing shells during disassembly, it was absolutely necessary to check this valve. It bypasses the oil past the filter, so if, for example, it had any cracks or if it was broken or jammed, then the oil would go past the filter. But we can see that everything is fine with it. So I just washed it, blew it out, cleaned it, and now I'll be installing it back in place, putting in the pressure relief valve, putting the radiator back, the grill, and installing the heat exchanger on the engine. So that means the camshaft bushings. I installed the heat exchanger. I put everything in place, tightened the block. Now I'm going to turn it over while I'm working on the piston assembly. That is, we'll have a new piston assembly, everything assembled, the liner, piston, pin and rings. So we'll be installing the rubber seals as usual. I opened and checked 2 cylinders, comparing the pistons and everything. Now I'll open 8 more. I unpacked the pistons and weighed them immediately off camera to grasp the situation and understand how things are for myself. I weighed them and found a small difference. I've started working on all of this, and a couple of hours have already passed. I didn't film anything. Now I want to explain and talk about everything a little bit on camera. As mentioned, there's a difference in the piston weights. 4 were in smaller boxes, while 6 were in larger ones, indicating they're from separate batches. We have pistons, and these pistons are heavier, somewhere around 20, within about 25 grams heavier, somewhere around there. So assembled piston pin rings. So I got curious, so I took the old pistons, which it turns out are still the original factory ones, I think, and I weighed them. As we can see, there's also a difference of 21 grams here. I'll show you now. So this turns out to be our lightest piston, 3.238. And this turns out to be our heaviest piston, 3.259. The difference between our pistons, which comes directly from the factory, was 21 grams. Here we have a similar situation with about a 25 gram difference. There are 2 groups of pistons, one group of 4 and another group of 6 that are about the same size. So what did I do? I weighed all the connecting rods, and as for one of the rods, well, the difference between the rods is about 10 to 12 grams. That's the weight I got for the connecting rods. The heaviest one is 3,180 grams, the lightest is 3,168, so that's also a 12 gram difference. I'll pair the heavier piston with a lighter connecting rod and so on. For the lighter piston, I'll use a heavier connecting rod. So what will I get in the end? Assembled together, piston, pin, connecting rod. The difference is the heaviest is 6,328 and the lightest comes out to 6,306. The assembled product has a 22 gram difference, which is within the allowed 50 gram tolerance according to the manual and literature. We only have 22 grams total, which is within the allowed limits. I adjusted the connecting rod slightly, so we'll keep it this way. So I also want to say I'll be grouping them just like you can see here. Up to 25, that's acceptable. I'll put that on the first 6. 1/6, the connecting rod up to 1/6, that's acceptable. Here, 2,828, I'll put that as 2.7. Next, 66, I'll put that as 3.8. Then 77, I'll put that as 4.9. And here, 89, I'll put that as 5.10. You demonstrated it conditionally by placing the heavier object closer to the flywheel or the opposite. This one will be 1/6 for us. And where it's 28 grams, that will be 5.10 for us. But accordingly, mine won't match up. The marks on the connecting rod that I made. For us, it's not that important. The main thing is that according to the diagram, everything will be perfect. So, now what's my task? The connecting rods have been machined. I'll show everything now. We have new bushings. I'll show you now how the new pin moves in the new bushing. I assembled the piston pin and connecting rod, and now I want to show the weight again. So as you can see, I have the first cylinder here. It says 6,328. So we see for now 6,329. I just added around 1.5 to 2 grams of oil there. Okay, well, so I'll show again how I'm going to install the connecting rods. The lightest one will be on the 1st and 6th journals. The heavier one will be on the 2nd and 7th journals. The heaviest will be on the 3rd journal. Next, here we have the same weight. This will be the 4th connecting rod journal, the 4th and 9th cylinders. The heaviest ones, the 5th and 10th, will be at the flywheel. So I measured the flange of the liner. We can see all the flanges, all our liners. The flange height is 10.07. So we won't need adjustment rings since our block is not a repair one. So we put the rings aside. These are the rubber seals that are inserted into the block under the liner. These are the rubber seals that go right here into the upper ring. However, these liners are made for 2 rubber seals without an adjustment ring. So I also took 10 more rubber seals from the sets that came with the liners. I'll put this green rubber seal into this groove, and I'll put this black one into this groove. I turn the block over, install the rubber seals, and coat them with assembly paste. First, insert the sleeves without rubber seals and measure the protrusion, then remove them, add the seals, coat them, and reinstall permanently. So my block is clean, perfectly clean, everything is cleaned out. The sleeves are also new, so the sleeve goes in under its own weight. It's currently loose and doesn't require pressing. However, I still check it with pressure, which I'll demonstrate now to show the entire pressure. The block is 0, the sleeve is 8, block 0, sleeve 8, block 0, sleeve 8, 0808. So now I want to show the sleeves. Pressed it. Also, we install the block. This is 07. The block is 07. The block is 07. Outside the clamped position, the reading is around 0.08, and after clamping, it's about 0.07. I already checked that side. Everywhere it's 7 or 8 hundredths. So on this side, there are 4 sleeves left to check with the clamps, and basically that's it. So I took out the sleeves, put one black rubber ring and one green one here, as I showed, and two green ones here. There I lubricated everything with assembly paste. Here I also lubricated the groove for the rubber ring with assembly paste. I lubricated the rubber rings where the sleeve passes through, and also the rubber rings themselves. Now I'm installing the sleeves. So all the sleeves are installed, everything is good. The pistons are also ready, I can already install them, but I need to install the crankshaft first. And I also wanted to say that I removed the rings on camera, but I didn't show it. I removed the rings, measured them along the sleeve, and the gap reaches up to 0.35. That means the gaps in the rings are perfect. I need to flip the engine over and install the crankshaft. The crankshaft still needs some work, as I left it in the same condition as when I removed it. I'll now take it to the cylindrical grinding machine. I won't grind it, but I'll clamp it, remove the counterweights, polish the journals, clean and blow out the channels, and replace this washer. Now we will work on the crankshaft. I need to install the tappets before the crankshaft for convenience later in the process. We're using reinforced used tappets. As mentioned, these are the best tappets and are practically eternal. The crankshaft is ready for installation. I'm now installing the bearings before putting in the crankshaft. So I don't remember if I mentioned it on camera or not, but I'm using standard bearings. That means we decided not to grind the crankshaft. There's a debatable point there. You could go with either option. There's about 0.05, 0.06 of wear. We decided to leave it as is instead of grinding it. The crankshaft is now tightened and it turns properly, so everything is in order. That's it then. I also installed and tightened the side clamping bolts. I put them on sealant because here we have a through hole, there are no seals, and sometimes oil leaks out from under these bolts. Now we'll install the pistons. The pistons are prepared and ready as shown earlier. I just need to put in the bearings. So the bearings we're using are Sparta, even though this is just a regular non-turbo engine. In theory, there should be regular bearings, but when I took it apart, there were spotter bearings installed. When we checked the catalog while ordering parts, it also indicated that these are the bearings that should be used. I'm not sure what that's about. Engines like this typically have regular bearings, not spotter bearings. Spotter bearings are considered reinforced bearings. They are mainly used in turbocharged engines where the load is higher. But I also didn't want to improvise. If it's specified that these bearings should be used, then that's exactly what we'll install. Basically, it won't get any worse from this. So my pistons are ready to be installed. I installed the bearings in the connecting rod, the spotter bearing in the rod, and the plain bearing in the connecting rod cap. So I measured the height of the bolts. This is a very important point, especially the connecting rod bolts, because they stretch. I installed it, put in the camshaft, and aligned the timing marks. That's it.